Hello and welcome to FDT-TV. I'm Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Mike. How you doing?
I'm very well, nice and rested from my holiday, which was lovely. And I'm so glad to be back from 30-degree sunshine to typical British weather for this time of year and back to work today. Life is peachy.
Yeah, well, it's not just you that's been affected by the weather, Mike. It's and the misery that it brings. It's not been a good time for English sport recently. Obviously, World Cup semi-final, England got knocked out. A hard-fought battle against South Africa.
Yes,
I think. Obviously, that was going to be a difficult game. That was a final game. When you win that, you pretty much you're going to be top tier for the final, but hard fought victory went out. Commiserations to the team, but obviously well done to South Africa. They were really good. And also we've lost a staple of British football in Sir Bobby Charlton. Obviously the Manchester United legend, one club man, one of the nice guys in football. Obviously he sadly passed away, so thoughts go out to his family and friends. So I think we need to touch on his career a little bit before we start the podcast, just as a little bit of a tribute to a man that is known throughout football and as I don't think the right word, that he has empowered people and inspired people to take up the sport. So obviously Manchester United through and through, as he was 507 appearances in the first division alone, 584 appearances in all competitions for Manchester United, 199 goals, only 6 assists, but within that only 1 red card in his whole entire career. So I mean, and that's pretty good going. Hard to get those sort of stats now and those sort of numbers, especially for one club. I mean, it was hard. I would say arguably harder back when he was playing than it is now. Wasn't state-of-the-art training facilities. It wasn't nice pitches. There wasn't VAR to protect players from dangerous tackles. And the ball was it was like kicking a bowling ball, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? So I mean, phenomenal man, phenomenal player. Can't really get any better. And over 100 caps for England. Was it 106 caps, 49 goals? I mean, mostly a midfielder as well, I think, if I'm correct in my thinking. He did play a little bit all over the place, but he played a lot from midfield.
How do you think he would feel, obviously, being alive to be able to see his record broken for England? Because obviously he was Manchester United's all-time top goal scorer for quite a substantial amount of time, and also England's top scorer for quite a substantial amount of time. Obviously broken by Wayne Rooney.
Yes.
I believe a couple of years back. Do you think he was proud?
Oh, 100
to see his record broken?
Yeah, 100%. I think he was a man who always obviously loved the game of football from all the interviews you see from him and all the stories you hear about him, and just wanted to see people getting better and better and better. So I mean, I think he was probably very proud to hold that record anyway. But I think as always, if you're top goal scorer for Manchester United, you want someone to break your record, because that means Manchester United are doing well. Same with England. If I'm the top goal scorer, I want someone to beat my record, because that means we're scoring lots of goals, and that's good. That's good for club and country. And I think he when Rooney broke his record, I think he did handed him an award, and was very gracious about it. But yeah, I think it's just one of those people. It doesn't matter what club you played for. He wanted to see you playing your best, because that's good for everybody. But yeah, so he's one of those people in football, and it sounds very strange because you don't get it much more very often. You don't get very often much more. Put my brain back in. That no one's got a bad word to say about him.
Yeah.
Like there's not many of those people about. Like I know a couple of people who met him a number of years ago at a thing. He was talking with Alex Ferguson, and he went over and approached the table, and they just had a chat for half hour about football, just out of the blue. Normal person, never met him before, didn't know him, but say all the ex players that have met him and been around Manchester United, not one of them's got a bad word to say, and I think that's commendable.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, we were just saying this before we started recording. I think it was Gary Neville come out on at the weekend and basically said it's obviously a tragic loss for football, and one of the nicest guys, and obviously with the Manchester United old guard, he said that Sir Bobby Charlton would always come in when he was at the grounds, come and either commiserate the players if they'd taken a defeat, or came in and congratulate them. And again, you really don't see that. Obviously, you get, I suppose, kind of like the 90s players, your Ian Wrights and all that sort of stuff that would do that, actually going to the grounds and supporting their club, obviously barring work commitments. But you don't really see, they don't really focus on kind of legends of football unless they have got some sort of massive accolade like World Cup winner, European winners and all that sort of stuff. Certainly of the older generation, I know that obviously more and more are dying out as time goes on, unfortunately. It's just the vicious circle of life. And just speaking of which, another thing to I suppose not to praise him on, but being one of the only survivors from the Munich air disaster back in the 50s as well. So very fortunate man. And I think proof that given the second chance, he's lived his life to the fullest. So fair play to him.
Yeah. I say it's got to be one of those. I know it sounds strange. This is not really football related, but having going through that and coming out the other side of it, you've got to be even more grateful for every day you've got. Do you know what I mean? Because actually, I probably should have died then. That's a nice message for life. Enjoy every day, but nothing really to do with football. But on the more positive side of things, there is a team in Claret and Blue that are doing really well. Aston Villa smashed us at the weekend, didn't they? Fucking hell. I mean, I said it at the end of last season. I think Unai Emery should have won Manager of the Season because of the position he took Aston Villa from, with Steven Gerrard having absolutely decimated everything about them to European contenders. And this season again, they're just playing simple football really well and playing for each other. And I think, I'm going to say it, I think they could hit fourth spot. I don't think it would be unusual. That said, 5 teams could qualify for the Champions League this season from the league because of the rejig and the coefficient. Lots of teams have to get further because we've got more teams in Europe because we won last year. But I think if we get, if we get 3 teams to a semi-final in all 3 of the competitions, then we'll end up with a 5th spot for Champions League. So, yeah, there could be another one up for grabs. 4th spot might not be so important this season. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, an accolade that is worthy of a mention. Douglas Luiz. He was linked with Arsenal a little while ago. Phenomenal defensive midfielder. He has scored in the last 7 home games for Aston Villa. And he's actually scored 8 goals in those 7 games. Which is, I think, mad for a defensive midfielder. But yeah, looks on top form at the minute. And you'd have to say, I think Villa are actually missing a fair few first-team players. Obviously, the captain, Tyrone Mings, is out injured. Emi Buendia, the creative midfielder they bought last year from Norwich, he's out injured all season. They've got a few others as well. So they're going to go from strength to strength, I think, as players start to come back as well. But he's got them playing really, really well. So my question to you, Mike, is obviously he was a former Arsenal manager. He had some really good spells and he had some really bad spells. Do you think had he inherited the team that Arteta's put together now and got rid of some of that dead wood that he did have, do you think he would have been a good fit at Arsenal with the right mentality of player? Do you get? I've avoided that really strangely, but Get rid of the deadwood some of the deadwood that he had Arsenal have cancelled contracts and things like that, and give him the current crop. Would he be doing a good job? Do you think?
Yes. The reason I hesitate with this is because obviously there were some fantastic times under Emery. He took us to Europa League final and a semi-final, I believe.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, semi-final and a final, I believe. And there were some difficult players, some deadwood, as you say. I would like to think yes. Obviously, we've seen the fruits of our labour with Mikel Arteta, giving him the backing that he needed or that he needs in terms of terminating contracts, signing or committing people to longer term contracts, getting new players through the door. There seems to be some sort of input in terms of transfers that are requested. Obviously, he has got a very good working relationship with Edu Gaspar. But with the things with Emery, I think there seem to be, and now you can put this down to potentially being the egos that we had at the club at the time, i.e. your Aubameyangs, etc.
Yep.
And I think the whole Granit Xhaka incident was under Emery as well, where he threw his shirt off the pitch and basically told the fans to fuck off. I think that was under Emery as well. So it was a bit of a torrid time at the end of his tenure with Arsenal.
Yep.
Obviously, he had a very good pedigree, very good European pedigree coming into the club, and obviously there's talks about when he interviewed for the position, come in with videos of the players and said how we can work with those players to make them better. Now, I think given the time that he came, his obviously English.
It's English.
For me, it's like English.
Yeah.
It's not his first language. How ironic. So I think there was. Okay, I can't talk. Good evening. No, there was definitely a language barrier, and obviously he was learning English at his time at the club, and obviously had his translators there as well to try and interpret the messages he was trying to get across to the team. But there have been rumours that came out that players didn't understand his philosophies and all that sort of stuff. So I think given his time in football and being able to obviously work on his language skills and show what can be done with, I don't want to say a bare bone squad, and outside the top six budget. But still backing the manager, I think has proven once again that if you give them time, you can turn your fortunes around.
Yeah. Well, so he's one of those managers, and it goes back to that big and prestigious conversation we had last year. But he's very good at managing those clubs that are sort of, you want to say like the sleeping giants, who've got a huge fan base, but haven't necessarily performed in the league for a long time. You put him in those squads and he does wonders with them. And Aston Villa was one of those. It's got a huge fan base. It's got a huge potential, and he's starting to fulfil that. I think what will end up happening is he'll get them to Europe. He will start playing well in Europe, and then someone will come and poach him. And a bit like Arsenal, I think was maybe a step too far for him. It is that humongous club that he's expected to perform at the top level all the time, with no mistakes, and I think that was the first time he'd done or managed a club of that size and that expectation, which is where the fouling is. But I think he's gone back to what he knows. He's doing very well. So if he gets another shot at a huge club, I think he could do well potentially. But yeah, see what the future holds. Hopefully they get rid of him soon, because Aston Villa are like going to be taking up our European spot when we don't win, because all the massive clubs are in Europa League this year. But yeah, so that's good. On the other hand, obviously Chelsea again, massive. Absolutely massive. Started to tick over. They've still got a lot of injuries. Put you to the sword a little bit, and then faltered again. So what are your thoughts on the faltering of that Chelsea side?
I've got to be honest. At 2-0 down with 74 minutes played, it was looking pretty bleak for us. I've got to say there, I was going into that game. There were some stats that come out before that they haven't beat us at the Bridge in the last 8 games, I think it is. Yeah. So there's been 1 win. We've got 6 wins and 1 draw.
Yeah,
I think at Stamford Bridge of the last 6 matches.
Okay.
Or that might be a head-to-head record, but they haven't beat us in quite a while. Obviously, the first goal that we conceded, very dubious penalty. I'm not quite sure what Saliba was supposed to have done there. Listening to the ref watch this morning saying, I said it's a bit harsh, but by the letter of the law, he's ticked all the boxes, blocked a shot from potentially going in, therefore penalty was conceded. But so I'm a little bit, I suppose, bitter about that particular penalty given some of the decisions that we've seen already this season.
Yeah.
The second goal, Raya, I've got to admit, when he first started playing for us, looked very confident, looked very calm on the ball, had one bad-ish night in Europe.
Yep.
And as kind of flapping a little bit, I suppose is the only way to put it, because even against Man City, don't get me wrong, pulled off some good saves, but there were some questionable moments. And then obviously the second goal conceded well off his line. Mudryk apparently went for the goal. I beg to differ, and some of the match of the day panel also beg to differ. Looking at it, you can see, I think it was Sterling that was running towards the back post, and you see him look up, but not look up at the goal, look up to see where Sterling was. Yeah. And it was, don't get me wrong, it was a cracking finish. If he did intentionally mean that goal, super finish. But I think overall we were, I want to say, no, I'm not going to say we were dominating the game. We were dominating possession at that particular point. And it kind of took the wind out of our sails a little bit from that second goal. However, after that second goal went in, there was a few tactical substitutions that were made, and I think we then started to press and see some of the weaknesses that Chelsea had for 74, 75 minutes. They made some substitutions of their own, which I think was to their detriment.
Yep.
Obviously, we saw Mudryk come off, but Sanchez. But this game was summed up. Sorry, I'm not going to waffle on for too much longer. This game was summed up by the tale of the 2 goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Because what the hell Sanchez was doing for Declan Rice's shot, don't get me wrong, he still had a lot of work to do, and if you see the bend on the goal, it was a phenomenal goal, but shouldn't have happened.
Yep.
And then the second goal that we scored, Trossard, I've said this before, is an amazing signing for us. I was so happy when we got it. Absolute bargain, and has contributed with the goals already.
Yeah.
Not only in pre-season, but back in the last season, and when he's featured for us as well. So I'm glad that we managed to get a point out of that game, considering where we were with 25 minutes to go. But we should have. We didn't. It wasn't us. It was not the Arsenal that we've seen already this season.
Yeah.
And fair credit to Chelsea, they were brilliant for a large portion of that game.
Yeah, we say they've still got a lot of players come back. They're starting to get that inertia going, aren't they? But say they've still got Reece James to come back. Wesley Fofana's injured. Shani Chukwuemeka is still injured. I think when you count it out, I think they've got 11 injuries, and I think 8 of them would be automatic starters in Cuckoo.
Well, Reece James obviously made his comeback,
Yeah.
I think, with about 10 minutes to go. So obviously got a massive ovation for coming back because obviously he had a bit of a nasty injury. So I think it's good for England as well.
Oh, yeah.
With him coming back. But yeah, the unfortunate thing with this game is, I know we bleat on about it week in, week out, and I don't want to dwell on it too much, but again, there was some poor officiating in that game. Cole Palmer coming through Odegaard, I believe it was. No, Saka. Coming through the back of him, could have been a red card, should have been a red card, but nothing happened.
Yep.
Saliba conceding a penalty. Not much he could do, but from a foot away. But obviously, as I've already mentioned, there was the tick boxes, fulfilled the criteria, penalty given. But the one I do take issue with is Sanchez absolutely clattering through Gabriel Jesus.
Yep.
And no penalty given. Didn't even go to VAR to check it, when the circumstances are very, very similar to what happened with Onana against Wolves for Manchester United. They come out and apologised, said it should have been a penalty, but yeah, nothing, absolutely nothing. And that's the one, because the momentum was with us at that particular point. Yeah, we could have gone on and won that game.
Yeah, and it's one of those that the consistency is not there. And sometimes you think the fairness. I mean, the some of the decisions in the Merseyside derby that went for Liverpool, you think that seems very dubious. But hey ho, it is what it is. It's one of those facts we have to put up with now, that we know the officiating is going to be shit, and they're going to defend it till the cows come home. Just a quick one. Obviously, Tottenham are now back top of the league because they're currently leading at Fulham. But at the beginning of the season, I did say Ange Postecoglou will change how they're playing. They'll be very attacking minded. He will get rid of some of the fan favourites, which he did in Harry Kane. And it might take him a season, but they will be up there. Do you think this is a season potentially that they could see some sort of silverware, maybe even a league title?
League title, no.
You think they'll fall off?
Yep, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
No, they obviously historically they're known as the bottlers. Get to finals, progress well in competitions, and then absolutely capitulate. We've seen them do it in the Champions League. We've seen them do it in the FA Cup. We've seen them do it in the League Cup.
Yep.
Haven't won a trophy since 2011. I think it was 2007 or 2011. But I do think they may have potentially. I could see them potentially doing a similar sort of thing to what we did last year.
Yeah.
In the fact
control the league for a long time and then falter at the key moment. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me if that is the case. But yeah, potentially maybe League Cup, FA Cup.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it wouldn't be unusual. I mean, it's one of those, and I said this before. I like the manager, don't like the team. So it's a bittersweet moment because I want to see him do well because he is a fucking fantastic manager, and I was a little bit bitter that we didn't sack Moyes and get him, but is what it is. So I think we should move on to some predictions because. Yeah, why not? So, I mean, we didn't predict the weekend's fixtures just gone, but we did do the week before the international break.
Yes.
Did we?
Yes.
Yeah. So yep. Refresh our memories.
Yes. So we had 3 games going on at that particular point: Newcastle versus West Ham, Arsenal versus Man City, and then Burnley versus Chelsea, which was the bonus game for that week. So Newcastle, West Ham, you had 1-1, I had 2-2. Score was 2-2. Therefore, you get 1 point for the correct result, and I get 3 points for the correct score.
Yep.
Arsenal versus Man City. You went for 3-2 to Arsenal. I went 3-1 to Man City. The score was a very plucky 1-0. So 1 point to you and 0 points to me. And the final game, Burnley versus Chelsea, you had 3-1 to Chelsea. I had 2-2. The score was 4-1. So 1 point to you and 0 points to me. So it evens itself out for this week. So I get the one score, so 3-3, absolutely. So that puts the season totals 17 apiece. There's still no break for either of us yet. Still a long way to go, as you know. But yeah, we have some games coming up this weekend. Arsenal versus Sheffield United, West Ham versus Everton, and Manchester United versus Manchester City.
Yep.
So we'll start with the Arsenal-Sheffield United game because I believe it's the first game of the weekend. I am, I suppose, reasonably confident with this one. We're playing at home. The only thing that's causing me a little bit of doubt is we have got, obviously, European football this week. But we seem to be the team that keep on giving. Obviously, historically, Everton, classic example. I know that it was a bit of a strange circumstance with obviously Sean Dyche coming in, but teams go through a bit of a bad patch and then all of a sudden get a jammy result against us. So obviously Sheffield United not doing very well at all in the league.
No.
I'm going to go. Do you know what? I do think that we will concede a shitty goal this weekend, but I'm going to go for 4-1.
Oh, I'm going 3-0. Keep it short and sweet. I think you're going to batter them. They're absolute fucking dog shit. They've got 1 point so far this season. I mean, in 9 games, they've got a goal difference of -17. I think you're going to batter them.
Well, fingers crossed. But like I said, we're going to get... it wouldn't surprise me if we give away a penalty or some worldy free kick or something like that. But yeah. So moving on, West Ham versus Everton.
Yeah. Are we at home?
Yes.
Yeah, we are. We've got Olympiacos this week. And we were away to them. So that's going to be a difficult game. Obviously a difficult place to play. A lot of travelling. Everton, I think, were resolute against Liverpool. I think they have been playing better. They've just been unlucky with a few results, a few decisions going against them. I think with the travelling and with that being the case, if we win against Olympiacos, it'll be up more. I'm going to go 1-1.
I am going to go slightly different. Do I? Yes, I'm going to go slightly different. I'm still going to go for a draw, but I'm going to go for 2-2.
Fair enough.
Obviously, I think the travelling will to be a little bit of a detriment, but we'll see what happens. And then finally, some would say the biggest game of the weekend, the Manchester derby, Manchester United at home to Manchester City. Man United have had a poor run of results recently. I know obviously they won at the weekend, but coming up against Manchester City, see, this is a classic case of a derby game, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Form goes out the window.
Absolutely, because Man United have pulled out some fluky results over the last couple of years. But I think where Manchester United are at the moment, I don't see anything other than a City winner. I'm going to go for 3-1 to Manchester City.
Yeah. Ten Hag's doing his nut on the sideline at the minute. Obviously, they've still got the rumours about he's what's his face going to take over 25%, and this is going to change, and that's going to change. And there's still that question mark over it. There's now the question mark of if that happens, then Ancelotti will probably come in because they want him in rather than Ten Hag. And the fact that their starting partnership is back to Lindelof, Harry Maguire. I think Haaland's going to eat him alive. I really do. He's been off the boil a little bit. I know he scored a couple of goals in the last couple of weeks, but he's not been at his monstrous robotic self, has he? I'm going to go for... are they going to score? Because City have been a little bit ropey at times. I'm going to go for 5-1. To Manchester United. No, to Manchester City. Yeah, I think Harry Maguire is going to be eating like a chicken dinner. Ripped from the bone. But yeah, that's my pick for that. Obviously, let us know on Twitter, on Facebook, on wherever you want to contact us, or on YouTube, which would be even better, as to what you think the results for those games are going to be. Again, that is Arsenal versus Sheffield United, West Ham versus Everton, and Manchester United versus Manchester City. Mike, do you have anything else to add footballing wise this week? No. Very good. Well then, if we shall wrap it up right there then. Thank you for joining us. Obviously, I've been Ian.
I've been Mike.
We are FDT-TV, and we will see you regularly from next week. Take care.
Ciao, ciao.